Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about the common mistakes that executors make. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is John, and today we're going to be talking about common mistakes that executors make. Now, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel as we go through these series of questions related to estate planning and the estate planning process. But today we're going to be talking about the common mistakes that executors make. Now, you are probably aware that an executor is a person appointed by the court to execute the terms of someone's last will and testament. You may not be aware that executors have no power until they are appointed by the court. You can name someone as an executor in your will, but until they come forward and tell the court that they are willing and able to execute the responsibilities of the executor, they really have no power. Once they do all that, the court will give them the authority to do all the things that they need to do. Well, here are some of the common mistakes that they make as they try to execute the terms of the will and navigate the probate process. All right, so number one, the first mistake they probably make is that they wait too long to hire an attorney. A lot of people will try to go through the probate process themselves thinking that, no, it can't be too complicated. And what they find is that it does become complicated, and then they go out to seek legal help. To be honest with you, most of the time when these people come into the office, I find that if they would have just hired me at the beginning of the process, they would have had much less headache, there would have been much less expense, and I would have been able to just help them avoid all of the things that they are going through. So when they do this, sometimes they will cause conflict between family members. And it just becomes very problematic when they do things like that. So the number one mistake that people make, and it's easily avoidable, is just waiting too long to seek legal help. Why don't you just go ahead and speak with an estate planning attorney at the beginning of the process, and they'll be able to help you avoid a lot of the common mistakes that people make in the beginning when they are trying to go through the probate process. All right, so the number two mistake that people make is not really following the terms of the will. You'd be surprised how many times people come into the office with a will, and the will clearly states someone's wishes on how they want their assets distributed out. I can remember probably 4 or 5 years ago, this lady came into the office. Her sister had passed away, and she had the will, and the will said that her assets would get divided up a variety of different ways. And she told me, she says, I know that in her will she wanted her assets to go here, here, and here, but I know that she wanted to give her money to the American Cancer Society. So, I want to, explain to me how we can leave all of this to the American Cancer Society. And I explained to her, I said, I've only met you for a few minutes, but, and I've never met your sister, but I can tell you that I know your sister better than you do. And she says, well, how could you know that? And I says, well, I know what your sister wanted to do with her assets. And she says, well, how would you know that? And I said, well, she wrote a will. She had 2 witnesses sign it. It was notarized, or at least the self-proving affidavit was notarized, and she clearly stated what she wanted to do with her assets. So why do you think that you know better what to do with her assets than what she wanted to do with her assets? And then all of a sudden it hit her, you're right. She wrote all this down, and that's what she wanted, so we're going to follow it that way. To be honest with you, had she gone to the court and tried to do this by leaving all of the assets to the American Cancer Society, as noble as that may be, she didn't want her assets to go to the American Cancer Society. She wanted it to go to the people and friends and relatives she had listed out in her will. So number two mistake that people make is really just not following the terms of the will and not understanding the terms of the will. Again, this is where an estate planning attorney could really help you out in understanding what goes along with, executing someone's will. But if people take the time to write it out, get it witnessed properly, have a self-proving affidavit and get it notarized, and provide you with the original of it, what makes you think that you know them better than they do? They stated in their document what they wanted to have happen to their assets. All right. The number 3 mistake that executors make when it comes to trying to administer an estate is probably failing to properly communicate with the family. There's been times, just like the aforementioned case I was telling you about, where people will get siblings to handle an estate. Now, they may have children, they may have other people that they want to leave their assets to, but they get a sibling, a sister, or a brother to handle the estate for them. Even though they have grown children that could do it, they just prefer to have someone of their own generation being the executor of the estate. So what happens is those sisters or brothers, they will go out and really do the best they can, but they feel like they don't have to tell the children what they're doing. But one of the great things about probate court, to be honest with you, is that it is an open process. Things are not going to be hidden through this process. You can't go around doing things in the dark thinking that it's not going to be found out. So that is great for some families. So if that is the case, the executors really should go ahead and just tell the family, tell the children, and whoever else is involved in the distribution of the assets what is going on in the case. There's no harm in it. Sometimes they feel like, well, they don't have to know, so why should I tell them? I don't know, but I can tell you that if you do and you keep open lines of communication, that it's really going to work out much better than if you try to just do all those things yourself. All right, so the number 4 thing that common mistake that executors make probably comes along with delay. All right, so what I'm talking about here is that someone passes away and the family will not probate the will. Maybe the person passed away, maybe they were the patriarch of the family, maybe they pass away and the mother, she continues to live for many years and she just stays in the same house and all the assets really go to her. So they just never take the time to probate his will. Years and years go by, and all of a sudden the mom passes away, and they're trying to pass it down that generation of assets. And what they'll find is that they've got a problem because some of the assets that were in the dad's name when he passed away many years ago, you can't get them out of his name today because those are frozen because they are just stuck in his name. So one of the problems with delaying in the probate of someone's will is that it just gets harder and harder to do so after time. Assets get mixed, they get lost, and the will maybe becomes lost. Maybe there's a copy out there somewhere that somebody has, and that causes a little problem. So the number 4 mistake that executors make is just really delay in the process. There's nothing wrong with going ahead, getting started, and probating somebody's will after they've passed away. I understand why people just sort of fall into the common situation of, the one surviving spouse is still alive, they remain in the house, they had joint checking accounts, and everything just sort of stays the same. But what they don't realize is that there were some assets in the deceased spouse's name, and now, many years down the road, that child's generation is having to deal with all of the mistakes of delaying in probating the first spouse's estate. So those are the 4 things that are most common mistakes that executors make. Now, executors will often make many other types of mistakes, but these are probably the 4 most common. So, all right, so that's all that we have to offer for today, and I hope that you learned a little bit something from this video. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel as we put out other videos, and until we put the next video out there, we'll see you then.